Hello students, welcome to the solution video for Cyclic Test 3. The subject that we're going to discuss is commercial studies, right? Now this was a 50 marks paper and you have two sections as always. You have section A and you have section B. Where in section A, you had two questions, two main questions, that is question 1 and question 2. And each of these main questions had 5 sub-questions under them. So, total of section A comprised of 20 marks weightage for this paper. Now, section B comprised of 3 main questions. Each of these 3 main questions had 2 sub-questions under them, each of 5 marks weightage. So the total weightage from section B was equivalent to 30 marks, which together comprise of your 50 marks commercial studies paper. Now students, let's start solving the paper. When you start solving the paper, the very first thing that you do is you write the section name on top. Now, for example, we are solving section A first, so we shall write section A on the top very neatly and very clearly. Once that is done, write the question number and the sub-question number. Now, the first question was define joint stock company. Now, students, since definition is asked, you have to write down any definition that's given in your textbook, but it has to be exactly word to word. You cannot amend or tweak the answer according to your comfortability. You will write it exactly the way it is given because it is supposed to be written the way it's given in your textbook, right? So we've taken the example or we've taken the definition of joint stock company given to us by Professor Hani. You may choose to learn and write down any definition that you're comfortable with. There is no compulsion to learn any one particular definition. So you have that liberty of learning any definition of your choice. So once that is done, now keep in mind, this is how you're supposed to write your answer when a definition is supposed to be written. You will first state according to Professor Hani. Now, whoever's definition you're writing, their name must be mentioned and specified. And then the definition that's given by them must be written in inverted commas, which means you're quoting exactly what they're saying or the definition that they've said, right? So it has to be put in inverted commas. So joint stock company is a voluntary association of individuals for profits having capital divided into transferable shares, the ownership of which is a condition of membership. And once you end the definition, you will close your inverted commas. So this is how you write the answer when a definition is asked. The two things that you have to keep in mind is, first of all, everything has to be written word to word. Second of all, the statement or the words according to whoever's definition you're writing, their name must be mentioned and the definition must be in inverted comma. So these 3 things that you should keep in mind while writing the answer for a definition, right? Now, if you've kept in mind all of these 3 things and you've implemented that while writing your answer, then congratulations, you've earned rightfully your 2 marks. Yeah. Let's move to the second question. Now, question 1B says or has asked, it was a statement kind of a question that in partnership, each partner is an implied agent of the other. Explain the statement. So since a statement was asked, you're supposed to explain the statement, right? So this can be written down or this can be answered in your own words. You need not write everything word to word. You have the liberty of choosing your own words to explain the point, right? And in the end, you can add thus in partnership, every partner is an implied agent of the other. So in the end, you can add the statement trying to justify the statement that was given to you in the question. So if you've done that, you've nicely explained the statement, then you earn your 2 marks. Moving on to the next question, question 1C. Again, this is a definition, define marketing. You can choose any definition of your choice. We've taken William Stanton's definition of marketing. So according to William Stanton, again, inverted comma has to be there. The name of the person whose definition you're going to write has to be mentioned, and the definition has to be word to word exactly how it's mentioned, right? Moving on to the next question, question 1D. What do you mean by capitalization, right? Now, this is something that you can write in your own words. So, the various techniques of long range planning and budgeting, which are used for estimating the amount as well as the type of funds that are required in business during a period of time. Now, the total amount of long term funds is referred to as capitalization. So, this is how you very beautifully write your answer. If you've nicely explained and you've written all the points that are supposed to be there, then you've earned your 2 marks. The next question is, what do you mean by recruitment and selection? Now, students, these are two different things, okay? And this is something you don't have to define, but you can use your own words. You can use your own, you can write the answer in your own words. So you can take, or you can even take the meaning or the textual words. So for example, here, recruitment is the process of identifying and exploring the sources of required manpower and choosing the right source. So that's the meaning that you have. Now, apart from that, I have also added one more sentence under recruitment. So I have added 2 sentences under recruitment and 2 sentences for selection. Because if you just write the meaning, it's like really short. So it will be better if you add one more extra sentence to both of them for both recruitment as well as selection. If you have not done that, it's still fine. You will still earn your 2 marks if you've nicely and if you've nicely written the meaning of recruitment as well as selection. So if you've done that, you earn your 2 marks. Moving to question number 2. Question number 2A. Define production or production management. Now, students, again, you have to write the definition as and how it's stated. And I believe in this chapter, you don't have an alternative, you don't have a choice. This is the only definition that's given. So you have to make sure that you write everything word to word and you quote the words of Bufa, right? So if you've done that, you've not made any mistakes, you've written everything word to word, you've mentioned the name of the person who's given the definition, then you earn your 2 marks. Moving on to the next question, that is question 2B. What do you mean by business finance? Now, again, this is not a definition. So you can always go and write the answer. You can always write the answer in your own words, right? So business finance may be defined as an activity concerned with planning, raising, controlling, and administration of funds used in business. It involves estimation and acquisition and administration of funds of any kind used in meeting the needs and objectives of business firms. So this is how you can write your answer. You can add at least 2 sentences while you're writing the meaning of a particular term. Do not just stick to completing the answer in 1 sentence. Make sure you at least write 2 sentences minimum when you're explaining a particular term. The next question, that is question 2C, is what do you understand by private sector enterprises, and explain any 2 features of the same. Now, you know what private sector enterprises are. They are the ones which are owned, financed, managed, controlled by private individuals. Now, the features of these private sector enterprises are, and then you will write the 2 features, you will give bullet points or you write numbers, you will create a head point, you will underline them very neatly, you will write it down, and then also write a suitable explanation. Like over here, there is a heading which is nicely highlighted, also underlined, and then you also have a suitable explanation for the same heading. Likewise, here also you have the heading and you have the explanation for the same. So since it is asked for 2 marks, you're supposed to write, or you're expected to write rather, 2 features. Each feature contains 1 mark weightage. Okay, so if you've written only 1 feature, you gain 1 marks, but if you have written 2 features, then you gain full 2 marks. Moving on to question 2D. Now again, define cooperative society. So you have to write the definition. You can choose any definition of your liking, of your choice from the textbook, but you have to write it word to word. So we've taken the example, we've taken the definition of H.C. Calvert, and we've written down the definition. So if you write it word to word, you write it exactly how it's given, you earn your 2 marks. Moving on to the last question under section A, that is question 2E. What do you mean, or now again, this question was a statement kind of a question, right? The question was joint stock company is an association of individuals having or enjoying perpetual succession and separate legal entity. Now, students, there were three terms. If you look at this statement, there were three terms that were mentioned. First of all, association. Second of all, separate legal entity. Third of all, perpetual succession, which means in the statement, you are supposed to, or you're expected to explain these three terms, what these three terms mean, right? So that's how you will write it down. You will explain each of these terms because they are important terms. You will explain that, and ultimately, when you explain these three terms, you have explained the whole sentence. So, joint stock company. So, we first looked at the association part. So, joint stock company is a voluntary association of individuals formed to carry out a particular purpose in common. Members of a company can join and leave it at their own will. Joint stock company. So that part, that two sentences was for the first part, why it's called an association or why it's regarded as an association. Now moving on to the second term under the statement, that is separate legal entity. Now joint stock company is regarded as a separate legal entity because after registration it becomes distinct body independent of its members. It can own property, make contract in its own name. So you have now finished you've finished explaining two terms. Now you have one more term that has to be explained, right? The third term, that is perpetual succession. Now you will write or you will explain that term. Now a company is created by law and only law can bring an end to its existence. The death, insolvency or lunacy of members does not affect the life of a company. Therefore, it enjoys perpetual succession. So if you have explained all of these three terms nicely and elaborately, you earn your 2 marks. If you happen to miss out any one term, your marks get deducted. Also, students, you have to summarize this. Always a statement, whenever a statement is asked in a question and you have to explain it, you explain the terms, you explain the statement, and in the end, you justify that thus joint stock company is an association having separate legal existence and perpetual succession. So that is how you justify your statement, which has to be there compulsorily at the end of these kind of uh, at the end of the answers to these kind of questions, right? So if you've done all of these, if you've kept all of this in mind and you've written your answer keeping all of these points in mind, then you have earned your 2 marks. Now moving on to section B. Now students, section B is a different section. It's a new section. So what you will do is you will write this answer or you'll attempt this onto a new page, right? Do not start section B where you left off or where you finished the last answer of section A. Take section B to a new page, right? So write section B on top, write the question number and the sub question number. So 3A. Now, what are the features of joint stock company? So now students, I have mentioned this before also. Whenever you're writing such kind of an answer, take the statement from the question and write it down in your answer and then go about and explain your answer. For example, now your question is, what are the features of joint stock company? So what will be your statement that you will write at the beginning of the answer? The features of joint stock company are, this statement has to be there. Do not directly start with voluntary association, separate legal entity. Write the statement first and then systematically number your features, create head points, underline them beautifully, and write suitable explanations, right? So we've taken five, since it's a 5-mark question, you have to write 5 points, 5 header points, and 5 suitable explanations to those. So we've taken 5 easy ones. You can also choose to write or understand or learn the easier ones which you feel are easy. You can go ahead and learn those features. Okay, there is no compulsion as to learn these 5 particular features only, or that in your answer paper you must have these 5 features only. No, you can choose to write and understand and learn whatever is comfortable with you or for you. Okay. So, but just keep in mind that 5 features, since it's a 5-mark question, 5 features have to be there. The statement, the features of joint stock company are, is supposed to be mentioned at the beginning of the answer, and then you're supposed to number your features, create head points, underline those head points, write suitable explanation for all of those head points. So 5 head points, 5 explanation for 5 marks. If you write any 4, you earn 4 marks. If you write any 3, you earn 3 marks. Okay. But now if you've written 5 head points, but you've written only 4 explanation, or you've written the explanation to only 4 head points, then you get 4.5 marks, because the last point you failed to explain the head point, or you failed to write the explanation to the head point, so you will earn 4.5 marks. Okay, so that's how the marks are segregated. Moving on to question 3b, explain the features of cooperative society. Again, the same thing has to be kept in mind, students. The statement has to be first mentioned while starting your answer. The features of cooperative society are, and then number your features, create headings, underline those headings, and write suitable explanations for the same. 5 marks question, so you will write 5 features along with head points and explanation. Moving to the next question, that is question 4a. What do you understand, or what do you mean by OPC? And what are the features of OPC? Now, students, there are 2 sub-questions in this, right? So first you have to explain, or you have to write the meaning of OPC. So first you write that. For example, now, OPC stands for One Person Company. The Companies Act of 2013 allows for the formation of one person company. Now, as the name suggests, the company has only one member. The features of one person company are, the statement always has to be there, right? And then you will write your 5 features. Now, in the textbook, you have just been given 1 sentences. There are no head points. But like I've told before, you have to create head points, underline those head points, and write the statement. Okay? Since it's a 5-mark question, 5 head points and 5 explanations. The next question, that is question 4b, is state and explain the objectives of marketing and sales department. Now, students, again, you will write the statement, the objectives of marketing and sales department are, and then explain your 5 objectives. Since it's a 5-mark question, you're expected to write 5 objectives. Now, objectives should always start with the word to. So whenever you create your head points, remember when you're writing the answer for your objective, the head points must always start with the word to. So 5 head points, 5 objectives, and their suitable explanation. Now moving to the last question under section A, that is question 5. Now students, question 5 was a 10-mark question, right? So the question asked was, what are the objectives of human resource department? So again, like always, you will write the question number, you will write the sub-question number, you will write the statement, the objectives of human resource department are as follows, or is as follows. Now students, there are 6 objectives. So what you can do is, you can write the sub-points under each of these main points. For example, the first objective states to procure human resources. So first, you will write, like I told you, objectives always starts with the word to. The head points must always start with the word to. So you will write the head points, you will explain the head point, and then under that head point, the first head point, there are 4 categories or 4 activities under it. For example, to procure human resource is the objective of human resource, but under the procurement of human resource, there are 4 activities that are undertaken by the human resource department, which is human resource planning, recruitment, selection, and placement. So each of these also have to be included in your answer. Since it's a 10-mark answer, you're expected not only to state these 4 activities, but also to write the meaning in at least 1 or 2 sentences for these 4 activities. Okay, moving on to the next objective, to develop human resources. Again, you have to first explain what development of human resources mean in 1 or 2 sentences, like it's written over here. Okay, and then under that also you have 2 activities. You have orientation and you have training. So first, orientation has to be explained, and then training has to be explained. Now, under training also there are two activities, or there are two types of training: on the job training and off the job training. So on the job has to be again explained, off the job also has to be explained in one or two sentences. The next objective is to compensate. So you will write a suitable explanation that one of the objectives of HR department is to compensate the employees for the work that is done by them. You have to include that compensation is done both monetary compensation as well as non-monetary compensation. So all of that has to be included under this point. Now the next point is to integrate. Now to integrate means reconciliation of interest of the employees with the organizational goals. It involves creation of sound industrial relations by establishing an efficient system of two-way communication between the management and the workers. So you have to again explain this point very nicely and elaborately. The next point is to maintain the efficiency and dedication of employees. So again, here you have to explain what maintenance of employees mean. You have to explain what are the things that are undertaken by the firms in order to maintain the efficiency and dedication of its employees, so that the employees remain loyal to the firm. So all of that explanation has to be written. The last function or the objective is to maintain records and research. Now again, under that you will write suitable explanation, elaborate your explanation, elaborate the point in a very good way. And remember students, you have to write, this is a 10-mark answer, and therefore there are only 6 objectives. So what you will do is, like I told you before, the first 2 points or the first 2 objectives includes in itself only several sub-points. So you have to make sure that those sub-points are also explained in 1 or 2 sentences, like in training, like in development of human resource, orientation training, on the job, off the job has to be explained. Under the first point, that is human resource, procurement of human resource, you have to explain these 4 points, that is human resource planning, recruitment, selection, and placement. So all of these points have to be explained. So when you write these sub points and explain them as well together, this whole answer constitutes or comprises of your 10 marks. So if you've written everything very well, you've explained all the parts there is to be added into this, you earn your 10 marks. But in case you miss out on some points, you lose out your marks. So thank you students. Thank you for watching.